Well, hi guys and girls, and welcome back to Dad's Shed. What are we doing here? Well, shock, horror. We're actually doing what I planned to do about 4 months ago. You may, if you have a very good memory, remember that one of the last jobs I was doing on my old Bantam was building a new horizontal arbor, and going to use the Sine Table that I built to cut some bevel gears. Unfortunately, everything else got in the way. So I went to use the Sine Table to find that the arbor I had was moving all over the place, and I needed a new one, so I built that. Then I found a problem with the Bantam, which I sorted out over Christmas, and then I bought a new lathe. So the job of doing this went completely out the window for 4 months. But it's now the 1st of April. Well, that's not a good sign, is it? It's now the 1st of April. So we're going to get on with it. Now, I've also invested in an insulated cup so that I can keep my tea hot, and it's also got a lid so I don't get swarf in it too much. So what have we done? Well, I've set the Sine Table up. The Rotary Table was already bolted to it from the previous attempt to get this job underway. I've lined it up with the travel of the x-axis, so it's running down the table. I've run the cutter across until it just touched, which gave me the high point, centre point, and I've taken a couple of cuts to check that things are going. I need to turn this 3 3/4 turns to give a 15-degree rotation, and I'm cutting 50 thou out, but not with the gear tooth cutter yet. What I've got is a narrow, it looks to be about 30-degree reground cutter that I picked up some time ago, and I'm running through that, and I'm going to gash it all out almost to depth. So I'm going to do 2 rotations round with this, taking 50 thou each time. So I'll take it down to 100 thou, which is 10 thou below the depth I should have, and then I'll swap this over for the gear tooth cutter to cut the tooth form. Now, because it's a bevel gear, it's not quite that straightforward. Once I've done the first go round at full depth, I then need to rotate this by 3 degrees and then re-center it underneath. It's what's called the roll angle, on either side. So that'll be interesting. But I've got this going. And I'm using the DRO to give me my depth of cut. Right, this now needs to go round. One, 2, 3, and 3/4. Drop that off again. Yeah, 60 degrees. And then a little bit of neat cut. I'm running this at the slowest direct speed, not using back gear, so it's about 360 RPM. One, two, three, and 3/4. So I've got to take this round, cut the 24 teeth. It's 24, isn't it? Yes, 24 teeth. And do that twice. So what I'll do is I'll just crack on and do this. I won't video it all. It'll be very, very boring. And I'll bring you back once I've coming to the end of doing the gash cuts. And then we'll look at starting the tooth cutting. Right, we're on the last of last four cuts on this for the gashing out using the roughing cutter I've got. We're on 300 degrees. Does tend to pick up a bit of swarf and then jump sometimes. Total cut length all the way across from where I'm starting to where I finish is 1 3/4. 1, 2, 3. 3/4 or 15 up 20. That's it, blow the chips off the teeth. Now clear, 1.71. If I go back to 0 or a minus number, I know I'm going to be clear of the washer when I rotate this round. So 1, 2, 3 and 3/4. Okay, 2 cuts to go, or 1 cut to go actually. Go back to 0, undo the lock, move that round, 1, 2, 3, and 3/4. Give it a quick blast of air, get rid of any chips in there. Try and clear the chips off the teeth of the cutter. Make sure that's locked. Give that a pull across. Okay, now what I will do is I will just zero this again. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, lock that off, and then release the table, drop it down, and you see now the teeth are gashed all the way through. This is actually just the washer, but I had to take a bit of a guess at the size, and I'm a little bit out, but that doesn't actually matter at all. So let's give that a quick blast of air. Okay, now having done this, my next little problem is I've got to put this in here, and that is quite a lot wider than this, so it would actually move it. So I'll then have to re-centre it over the slot, not a major issue, and then also because the height is different, I'm going to need to play with the height setting and re-zero it. And then that will have to go down 225 thou, so it's 25 thou more than the gash, to cut the teeth. And then that will go around. I don't know whether I might do that in 2 passes. I'll do one at about 150 thou. And then I'll go in and do the second cut down to depth. Then after that, what I need to do is do the roll angles and cut the sides to get everything lining up. So yeah, this one is a little bit more involved. What I'll do with this is just lock off the spindle so that I can undo. That can go in there. That now won't move. I grab my subtle spanner. Now I know that with this, the key is going to try and drop out. In fact, it will probably succeed. .248. 0.248. .330. Right, so it's 40 thou difference. So let's go and get this the right way round, so I'm actually going in the cutting direction rather than the other direction. It goes on there. Okay, that's in there. That can come. And that should be smack on there, which is. So I'm happy with that. Wrong one. Zero that, and I need to move that across. Take that up a little bit, I think. I'll take that 75. Okay, let's see where we go with this. Okay, that's the first one done. Again, I'm going to go around twice. I think I'll have a go when I get gone round once with this setting, and I'll have a go at the next one, see how it goes at full depth. I may end up taking 2 cuts, I don't know yet. I'll find out on the next one. But that's the first one round, so we will now move on to 15 degrees. 1, 2, 3, and 3/4. One of the big differences now is that having got this new Arbor on rather than the old one, it's actually cutting on more than one tooth. which is a great advantage, I think. Where are we now? Well, I've done 2 out of the 3 profile cuts. Because this is a bevel gear, I'm having to do 3 cuts. 1 down the middle and then 2 cuts at what they term a roll angle. This is now currently sitting at what would be 0 but is minus 3 degrees, or 357 degrees. So I need to take it back to 0 and then to plus 3 degrees. Thankfully my rotary table is a 90 degree or 90 turns per revolution worm, so on the 20 degree 3/4, which is 15 holes, and I'm using that for the 24 tooth gear anyway, so it's actually making life a lot easier. All I need to do is move these around to where it is. So what I'm going to do is I will take this forward 3 degrees, that should 0 it, which it does, and I will then take the fingers around and move it forward another 3 degrees, so I'm now at plus 3. So that's turned the bevel gear by 3 degrees. Now in order to get this to line up with the inboard centre, I need to move the cutter across, or more to the point, I need to move the work under the cutter, and that works out at 56 thou. Now on here you can see it shifted very slightly when I started cutting, sitting at minus 55 thou from 0. So all I'm going to do is move that across and because I've moved that round, the centre will stay the same, but the starting position of the tooth has shifted, so I've now shifted the cutter across to line it up again. So hopefully, fingers and everything else crossed, when I start the cut, it will then go through and just trim off the outboard edge towards the back to make the centre between the teeth parallel. The teeth will actually go out at an angle, but the land between them will be parallel. So that's where we're going now. So this is the last go around, hopefully. Yeah, that's going nicely down the middle, just taking a trim off the outboard edge. It's taking so little off you can hardly hear it. 0 on here I know is clear, so anything past 0 is fine. 1, 2, 3 and 3/4 turns. So another 23 times round and we'll hopefully have done this. I'll come back to you a little bit later. Okay, so that is now done all the way around. As you can probably just about see here, it's still got a very slight taper on it, but it's almost parallel now. So I think part of that is where it's kicking up a burr at the front, so it's making a bit more of a wedge there. So I'll go over those with a file and just clean those down a little bit. But that's that one done. So I can now undo that. And then I can get this out and cleaning up. Right, I've got another job to do. Not in here. I've been given a job indoors by her indoors. But as you can probably tell, we're now getting closer to summer in the UK. It's into May, so having had April where I was in a t-shirt, I've now got a fleece and a jacket on. I think we're swapping with Australia and it's getting colder as we head towards summer, or our summer. Right, that's that for the moment. I'll come back to you in a little while. Well, I've managed to get back in here again. So you just saw me completing the cutting on this, which is the 24 tooth bevel gear. I've done 2 because I just want to double check that I've got 2. So that's cut down to 210 thou. It looks pretty reasonable. It's not quite as parallel as I'd like, but it certainly widens out at the back end, so hopefully that will work reasonably well. But in order to make use of that, I need to do the mating gear, and the mating gear is 18 tooth. Again, it's 10 dpi. So what I've actually done, I've cheated a little bit. I've actually gone and done a crib sheet, which tells me on here that the tooth angle is 20 degrees between each, which is 5 full turns of the handle on here. Once I've done the full depth on each of the teeth, I've then got to roll it round 3 degrees, which is 3/4 of a turn, so that's set on that. And then the offset is plus and minus 39 thou. and I've got to set the sine plate to 7.199999 inches, so 7.2, plus the depth I've cut this down at the bottom here, which is 65 thou. So that's going to be 7.264. 7.264. So I'm going to need to make up a gauge block stack at 7.264 inches. Stick that under there, then tighten it back down again, and we'll go from there. So that's what we're up to now. Put that back on there. How does this fit? Well, spent a few minutes on the Colchester. I've turned up a new Arbor. That holds that on the 1/2 inch stub at the top. That drops in there, no rock. And then on the bottom here I've got a 10mm nut. That goes on there like that. And then a little bit of tighteny. So that's not going anywhere. Now what I do need to do is take this back on there. That's 0. I'll take these marks off the edge. And I'll get a paint pen and just mark up where I need, so that I know where I'm returning to. It's going to be a little bit easier on this time because literally it's 5 turns, 20 degrees, and that will lock me straight in where I want to be. So I'll tighten that up for the moment. This is centered, but I'll need to move it across, and I think that's 32 thou for my roughing cutter. So I'll get all that set up. I'll get the gauge blocks out ready to do this, and then I'm ready to start doing some cutting. I'll bring you back shortly. Well, let's have a quick look at this. And as you can see under here, I've got my stack of gauge blocks. It's 7.264. And I've put my little Wixie gauge on there, and it's supposed to be 53.11, and I've got 53.1. So, as far as I'm concerned, that is set. All I've got to do now is, if I can zoom out a little bit, this, I just need to put a different length on that so I can lock that down, and then make sure that it's tight. And yeah, that looks like it is level. So that's good. So I'm going to drop that down there. So this is now set up. That's now set to the angle using the sine plate properly. Makes a nice change. But using the sine plate properly, that's set that at the angle I want. I just hope I can get far enough back on here. Yeah, just about. I've just about got enough travel to go through that. Right, so that's good. Then I can get the rest of that set up and cut that. So that's all nice and solid now. Just need to clamp the back down. I'll be back to you shortly once I've gone and done what I need to do outside of here. I'm equipped with the rubber gloves. So where are we? Well, I've put that in as you saw in the last section. I'm now about to change the profile cutter. As you can see, I'm back in a t-shirt. It's late spring and it's probably going to snow tomorrow, but I'm making the most of the weather here while it's mildly warmer. So, I'll get that off. Get that off. Get the drive key out. Take that off. And then if I go up there, I'll grab a bit of blue roll. And pick up my roughing cutter. Make sure that's all nice and clean. Make sure I've got it the right way round. It's very embarrassing when you put it on and then suddenly realise you put it on with the cutter teeth facing the wrong way and you've got to start from scratch again. So that's on. That's on. And then find my small spanner. It's 1.25 inches. It's on nice and tight. And over here, and just release the back gear pin. There we go. So that's all on now. One last thing to do before I start cutting. Because this is all on the same setup, and I'm using the same cutters, I am aware that the centre line of this, the DP cutter, is actually further over, and I need to move it out by 40 thou. So zero that, and make sure that this is nice and tight under there. So I know that's now in the right place. This hasn't moved, so your centre point is the same. So all I've got to do now is go through and cut this. I'll put that where it is, and I will get a paint pen and I will mark that point in case I knock anything. Nice yellow paint pen. Why am I using paint pen rather than Sharpie? Well, quite simply, Sharpies get washed off fairly easily and can get rubbed off if you move your hand too close. A paint pen won't come off, but it will scrape off with your thumbnail. So I can make sure that's right. And when I use this to go forwards or backwards 3 degrees to cut the other sides, I know that that's going to be in the right place. So that is what I want. So let's give that a go. Let's find a 0 point. So I'll put a little bit of power on. Smell of warm electrics, or electronics rather. Okay. Move that off a little. Let's just see how this goes. Okay, that's 100th thou cut, more or less. That's quite nice. So let's go round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, let's leave it that way. To be honest, I suddenly realised when I was in the last one that I could have set this up back another couple of inches. It actually made things a little bit easier because it's right at the end of the travel here and it's an area that isn't normally used. And yet, I've got rubber gloves on. Don't like wearing them. Interesting comment from Max at the Swan Valley shop about wearing rubber gloves, which I totally agree with. But I prefer wearing rubber gloves and not feeling anything to feeling the swarf in the fingers. Yeah. I've just gone round once. I've done a complete circuit, so I've cut 18 teeth. And I'm now at my next turn on this, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is taking me back to 0 again. So this is the next round. Now, this is a slightly light machine. Tom Senior. So I'm not taking full depth cuts in one go. I've taken 100 thou on this one. Because I've got an angled cutter, the deeper I go, the more tooth is going to be engaged. So I've decided I'm going to take 3 passes to do this. 100 thou, which I've just done. I'm going to go down another 60 thou, and then I'll leave the last one at 40 thou. And hopefully that should give me a reasonable balance. It will take it, but it's going to be really nasty, so let's play a little bit safe. Slacken that off a shade. Take that up to roughly 60 thou. And then hit the go button. Now I'm going to need to go and get a cup of tea in a moment. Well, this is just going to be a case of wind on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 revolutions, lock off, hit that, so I think at this point I'll leave you and I'll carry on with this off camera, and I'll also make myself a new cup of tea. See you shortly. Okay, just bring you back here for a second. We're just about on the last rough cut with my gashing tool. I've set this up so that at 0 I'm in the right place to be able to turn this without it touching, and we're now on 340 degrees, so this will be the last cut. So that's locked off, and what I've done is that's zeroed where I need to stop it coming back, but I'll put the stop in here, run this forward a bit into the groove, and then engage power feed, give it a squirt of coolant or lubricant. It's picking up odd chips and just cutting them while it's doing that. I do need to make a new stop for this. The originals disappeared when I moved. And this one works, but because it's just got a hex head on it, I can't run it behind the reed head here. So I'll let that run through. It gets to about just over 1/2. That knocks the power feed off automatically. So that's all of the teeth now gashed out. What I now need to do is drop it down, change the cutter back to that 10 dp involute, what I'll then do is I'll take this part way round to 350 degrees. I'll then at that point get the tool touched off on the work to give me the 0 point, zero that, and then I know I need to go down 210 thou. Yeah, so that'll do that. So I'll drop this down a bit now. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so that's cutting through nicely. So I've got another 16 teeth to cut, then I'll drop it down a bit further and I'll take just 10 thou on the last cut, so I'll take 2 more cuts on this, and that should take me to full depth on that one. So I'll bring you back a little bit further down the line. Okay, I said I'll bring you back. We're now on the last of our cuts on this in the standard orientation. So I wind that forward to about there, engage the drive. Two, three, 4, and 5. Cut length is just over 3/4 of an inch. When that reaches 1.3, it's clear. Okay. So that's the fully formed teeth. Now I've got to set the roll angle. So I need to move it by 3 degrees one way and then move it out by 39.7 thou, or 397. So I will do that. I think I might just get the compressor on. Excuse the noise. Okay, turn that off, otherwise I will forget and then I'll be in trouble with the boss. Right, so let's clean that up. Now I need to go back 3 degrees, which is 3/4 of a turn on this, 15 holes out of a 20 hole circle. That will take me back to there. I'll move that round, and then I want to take that mark off of here. I'll just use the end of a I'd rather have just one mark on than two. There it is, facing away so I can't see it. Okay, that's my new mark there. So let's move that across. I now need to move it out 0.0397. I've just finished going round on one side of the roll, so I'm going to now make the adjustments and change it over to do the other side. Now I'm going to take this, it's currently sitting on 337 degrees, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That takes me to 357. So I now need to go forward 3 degrees plus 3 degrees. So I need to go forward 3/4. That will take me to 0. And then another 3/4, which will take me to +3, and while I'm thinking of it, nice yellow paint pen marker. The other one I'll leave on because it's down the bottom and I can't see it anyway. Right, that's that bit done. I now need to reset this. I've left the DRO, if I move that out you might be able to see it. I've left the DRO at -39.9. I now need to move it across to plus 39.9. So that will now take a shaving off of the other side of the tooth as it goes through. Right, let's see how much I can get done of this before I get a call to say, we want breakfast. And that might be it. a child. Oh well, I'll cut this one and then I'll go and rescue the wife. .343, this should be the last cut. 0 is my start point. I can wind it in about 5/8 before it starts to look at touching. Engage power feed at that point. And this should be taking the last cut on the last side. And looking at the teeth, they've got a slight taper on them, but they're pretty much parallel. Point 4. Let's take this round to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well that looks like it's given me what I want. So just ease that off. And it's given me my matching bevel. So now I can start playing with the actual head and organising the shaft for this, which I need to be able to adjust up and down to get the right sort of engagement with the main drive gear. Right, well I'm quite pleased with that one. Just see how it works now. A little bit of running in compound should even up any unevenness on it. I may just take a file and just ease it off, and certainly I need to do that at the back to get the rags off. But that's my bevels cut. Hopefully they'll be fine, and I can get on with the rest of the build of the vertical head. Hope you enjoyed this visit to Dad's Shed. If you have, please like and subscribe. It really does G me up and get me doing other stuff. And if you found it of use, if it's given you some ideas, even better. Cheers all, and bye from Dad's Shed.